Former President Trump with me on Sunday, then doubling down on these tariff plans again yesterday at the Chicago Economic Club. He was asked about the analysis from the Bipartisan Committee for the Responsible Federal Budget, which I also raised in that interview, saying that his economic proposals would add $7.5 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. Harris adding $3.5 trillion. Let's talk about this. A Bloomberg survey finds most economists do believe the outlook for inflation and growth in the U.S. would be roughly the same whether Trump or Harris wins the election. Joining me now is former Soros Fund Management Chief Investment Officer, Key Square Capital Management CEO and founder, and Trump donor and advisor, Scott Bessent. Scott, good to see you.
Always good to see you, Maria.
What do you make of the way Trump is explaining these tariffs now? He got into it yesterday at the Chicago Economic Club, but it was exactly what he told me on Sunday. And what I took away from it was that it's a threat to keep adversaries at bay.
Yeah, Maria, we can see from yesterday that Donald Trump's ready on day one. When he wins, January 20th, he's going to hit the ground running, and it's going to be a growth agenda. Tariffs are going to be part of that. I mean, what other political candidate could go toe-to-toe for an hour with the executive editor of Bloomberg News? I mean, it was fantastic. It was a tour de force. And Donald Trump has added a new a new leg to the Trump stool. Alexander Hamilton loved tariffs. He was the original tariff man, and he did it to raise revenues and to protect American industry. Donald Trump has added the negotiating leg. And I think, given Donald Trump's credibility on tariffs from Trump 1.0, he will hit the ground running on 2.0, and world leaders and business executives will know he means business.
I want to get your take on the kind of growth he's talking about. I mean, when I spoke with him on Sunday, it was after this speech he gave in Detroit, and he was talking about triggering a revolution for the auto industry because of this very notion that they're going to be able to do what they're doing and make cars in America. Do you think companies are actually going to say, yeah, okay, I want that 15% tax rate, I'll do everything in America, even though it's going to be more expensive for them?
Well, look, it's after-tax cost. That's what drives everything. That's why the Tax Cuts and Job Act that was passed in 2017 that we've got to extend again. It is the after-tax return on capital that drives productivity, it drives job growth, and that is what drove real wage growth for working people under Donald Trump's first term. We're also going to have a massive deregulatory program, and we're going to have energy dominance. So cheap energy, deregulation, and a low tax rate. What's better than that? Well,
this is a beautiful way that you said it, because the deregulation is a really important one. I mean, a lot of people talk about Kamala Harris not having the sophistication that Donald Trump has with regard to the economy. And I agree with that. I mean, talking with Donald Trump, you get this sophistication. He understands what's going to move things. But the regulatory environment is something that Kamala Harris has not been pushed on. I mean, you could do all sorts of things to the oil industry to keep oil production down. It's not just about fracking. And it's about regulation. So what do you think are the most onerous regulations right now that Trump needs to undo?
Yeah, and Maria, before I give you the list, sophistication is the exact word.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, everyone says, what are you advising Donald Trump to do? I said, I don't have to advise him to do anything. He already did it.
Yeah.
I could tinker around the edges, but he has a vision. But look, when you think about the energy industry, Senator Sullivan from Alaska said Biden administration has sanctioned us more than they've sanctioned the Iranians. They've sanctioned us more than they have the Iranians.
That's right.
There are hundreds of thousands of pages that have been added to the federal regulatory register under Biden and Harris. It's more big government, and that's what kills productivity. John Mickel yesterday said, well, you'll shrink the economy if you have fewer illegal border crossings. You shrink the economy when you add more regulations.
Yes.
There's an estimate that over 10 years, it's costing us $400 billion.
Yeah, and a lot of those regulations are around her climate change agenda and new rules for emissions and new rules for the climate change agenda, which he will undo. Look, I want to get back to economics in a moment, but I want to get your take on George Soros. I don't think people really ask you these questions, and I want to get your take because you've been kind enough to sit with me for so many times talking about policy. Tell me about your involvement with George Soros. Do you understand his motivation for some of his social agenda, like funding DAs that will not prosecute crime? I mean, opening the doors for these criminals to get back out on the streets immediately. What did you do for Soros, and what is his motivation, in your view, having been there at probably the most important time in his global career, and that is with the devaluation of the British pound?
Yeah, so, Maria, it's very interesting that the Soros CIOs have a history of Republican giving, whether it's myself, Stan Druckenmiller, Bob Bishop.
Interesting.
That we've all been big Republican supporters and donors. And, I can't speak to George's motivations on the political side. I could say he's one of the greatest investors of all time. And what George really understands is how systems accelerate and then how they collapse. And, he's done that again and again in the financial markets. And unfortunately for the conservative movement, he has now applied that to politics. And you know what? Shame on us for not understanding that a little bit of money in these Democratic races could make the difference.
Wow.
So I've taken my resources, and many Republicans are pushing back against this, whether it's at the school board level or the DA level, and we're going to take back law and order. We're going to take back our schools. Yeah,
I mean, you were there at the height of George's career. Was he always this political? Final question on this.
He was very involved in bringing down the Berlin Wall. He was involved in Eastern Europe, and this migration to the U.S., you'd have to ask him why he did it. Everyone asks me, how could you work there? And I say, the most anti-communist people are people who grew up in communist countries. So, I'm trying to use my resources to push for the American vision I have. He can push for the American vision he has, and that's the way the system
it's really
works.
Interesting that Trump relies on your advice so much, and you spend so much time at what you would consider an enemy of Donald Trump. But let me get your take on the broader sentiment out there. Markets have been rallying on this idea that the Fed will, in fact, engineer a soft landing. Maybe we won't go into a recession now. What's your take?
I think that they're not engineering any landing right now. They've taken away their optionality. I thought that this jumbo rate cut was highly inappropriate. Donald Trump gets lots of questions about politicizing the Fed, and Jerome Powell politicized the Fed doing a jumbo rate cut this close to the election. There's no scenario where you had to cut 50 basis points right away. The economy, unless he knows something that we don't know about the economy, and they are going to be in a real predicament if the economy accelerates, because since they have done the jumbo rate cut, the bond market, the 10-year bond, has gone down in price, up in yield almost every day.
I'm trying to figure this out. Why is it that rates are going higher in an environment when we're told rates are going lower?
Well, they're taking short-term rates down. 3- and 5-year inflation expectations are up. And you keep hearing that Donald Trump 2.0 is going to be inflationary, which is absurd. We know what a Trump 2.0 is going to be from Trump 1.0. And inflation was very, very anchored around 2%. So there will be a growth shock. There will not be an inflation shock.
Scott, are you expecting to be in the cabinet should President Trump win this?
I'm expecting that President Trump's going to win, and that I would like to help any way I can, inside or out. But there are no jobs if he doesn't win. So November 5th, after that, we can see.
All right. That's all you're going to give us today. Scott, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Love this conversation. So much information from you as usual. Scott Bessent joining us this morning.